new term has been coined by the Harvard Business Review, AI-generated work slop. We have AI slop on the internet. It is pictures of shrimp Jesus, viral videos, but it's AI slop. So work slop is a new term that the HBR, Harvard Business Review, are very excited to be able to coin. AI-generated work slop is destroying productivity. So a confusing contradiction is unfolding in companies embracing generative AI tools. While workers are largely following mandates to embrace the technology, few are seeing it create real value. Consider, for instance, the number of companies with fully AI-led processes nearly doubled last year, while AI use has likewise doubled at work since 2023. Yet a recent report from the MIT Media Lab found that 95% of these organizations see no measurable return on their investment in these technologies. So much activity, so much enthusiasm, so little return. Why? Okay, first up, that MIT report, if you can get your hands on it, do have a look at it. It's rubbish. It's a really badly written report. To be fair, it's not actually a study. No, they call it a report. It's an early stage report. So at least they call it the right thing here. There are many problems with that report. The biggest, though, is that the only projects that are considered in the report and actually tested to be successes and not successes are big kind of top-down leadership-driven pilot projects. So when a firm gets together and it's like, okay, we're going to spend 50 million on using AI to categorize all of our receipts or whatever it is, some big initiative. Those are the ones that haven't worked. However, the timescale for the success was about 6 months. It's not long enough for a non-AI project to show returns within an organization. These things take time. This is change management. So the fact that 5% of them were actually going through and working within a short amount of time, cool. What it did not look at, though, was the use of AI at grassroots levels. Normal staff members just starting to use AI in their day-to-day work. That was not considered in the MIT report. They talk about shadow IT at one point and then they dismiss it. They actually talk about the fact that I think 83% of grassroots adoption is successful. So it's a flip side. So when staff members work out how to use AI themselves at the base level and they apply it to their tasks, the tasks that they do on a daily basis, AI is really useful. When leadership tries to impose AI from top down without any regard to what tasks or what workflow their staff are doing, it doesn't work. So, okay, this tells us something. We should be training people at the lower levels because they know what they're doing and they know what AI is useful for and what it is not useful for. In collaboration with Stanford's Social Media Lab, our research team at Better Up Labs has identified one possible reason. Employees are using AI tools to create low-effort, passable-looking work that ends up creating more work for their co-workers. On social media, which is increasingly clogged with low-quality AI-generated posts, this content is often referred to as AI slop. In the context of work, we refer to this phenomenon as work slop. We define work slop as AI-generated work content that masquerades as good work but lacks the substance to meaningfully advance a given task. So here is how it happens. As AI tools become more accessible, workers are increasingly able to produce polished output. Formatted slides, long structured reports, seemingly articulate summaries of academic paper by non-experts and usable code. But while some employees are using this ability to polish good work, others use it to create content that is actually unhelpful, incomplete, or mission crucial. The insidious effect of work slop is that it shifts the burden of the work downstream, requiring the receiver to interpret, correct, and redo the work. In other words, it transfers the effort from the creator to the receiver. So there's an interesting line here. While some employees are using it to polish good work, AI can be used to be lazy or to be incredibly efficient, and it depends on the user. I would argue that the people who are using AI to put together long structured reports and fancy looking slides and then handing them off to their colleagues, I would argue that before AI, they were not putting out good work. I would argue that their behavior has not changed, but they are now able to produce more because of artificial intelligence. They're able to produce more poor quality work, and that AI is basically making a problem that was already there. These people are lazy and they don't produce good work. It is making it more visible because they are now able to push out a lot more and they're more productively creating crap. Whereas it does admit some people are using this ability for good work. Yeah, if you give AI to somebody who is conscientious, who checks on their work, who uses it alongside themselves as a co-intelligence to collaborate, then you're going to get better results. AI can help you be incredibly lazy, or it can accelerate your learning. We see this in vibe coding, for example. You can use AI and pass off all of your thinking to AI and be like, just make the app. You're not going to get a good result. Or you can work with a vibe coding tool and learn at the same time. So you can ask it, let's discuss the project. Let's go through a few ways we can do it. Let's put together some architecture. Let's go back and forward and work this out together. And then when you deploy something, when you write some code, can you walk me through it? Can you comment in that code so I can check it out? Can you ask me questions to check my understanding? You can do all of this stuff with AI. You can put it into learning mode. Claude Code, for example, has a learning mode built in. Most people won't use it because they're lazy. AI helps them be more lazy, but it can also leverage and help you to learn. That's a human choice though. If you've ever experienced this, you might recall a feeling of confusion after opening such a document, followed by frustration. So this seems like you just need to go and talk to that person and say, hey, this is crap. Regardless of whether it's AI generated or this is not a useful report you've given me. This is not a useful slide. I would also ask the question of maybe reports and slides are not very useful and it's just people being busy, and now we can do it with AI, and that is exposing that just passing around reports, taking meetings, doing cool looking slide decks is not valuable work in the first place. And now that we can reproduce it using AI, that is causing questions about what we're actually doing here. But that's a bigger question. According to our recent ongoing survey, this is a significant problem of 1,150 US-based full-time employees across industries. 40% report having received work slop in the last month. Employees who have encountered work slop estimate that average of 15.4% of the content they receive at work qualifies as work slop, presumably. The phenomenon occurs mostly between peers, 40%, but work slop is also sent to managers by direct reports, 18%. Yeah, I think this is a big issue. If people are putting in crappy work during their jobs, they need to be called out. I'm not sure if that's necessarily an AI problem. I think that's a human problem, and they're leveraging AI to make their life a lot easier. But you just need to call them out. So AI is making laziness easier, but they're still a lazy person. And then they're talking about, so it means other people need to do the work for them. Yes. In some ways, this is not a new story. There has always been sloppy work. Yes. We are prone to procrastination, to shortcuts, to leaning into busy work instead of careful thinking when we are tired, or generally. Lots of people are just lazy. Gen AI gives us a new technology in which to lean into the same old bad habits, yes. But now with the added cost of creating more work for our colleagues and undermining collaboration at scale. We had this with the internet. We've gone through this debate already, where people were basically copying web pages and submitting them as reports, for example, at school. But then people got more sophisticated in spotting that, and then habits changed. So it's just a transition to a new technology. So how can organizations avoid this outcome? How can they instead optimize for employee usage of AI that delivers measurable return on their significant investment in this transformative technology? Here we offer a few key principles from our original research. Indiscriminate imperatives yield indiscriminate usage. So when organizational leaders advocate for AI everywhere all of the time, they model a lack of discernment in how to apply the technology. I agree. And I talk to lots of leaders in business, and a lot of them just want to do AI. But that's because they haven't got the education in what AI is good at and what AI is not good at. So they need executive briefings generally to show them the difference between these two. It's easy to see how this translates into employees thoughtlessly copying and pasting AI responses into documents, even when AI isn't suited to the job at hand. Gen AI is not appropriate for all tasks, true. Nor can it read minds, true. And people generally aren't very good at communicating with it either, and they expect too much. So they'll write something like, generate me an annual report. It's like, no, it can't do that. It needs additional context. Plus, that's not a task you should be using AI on for, because the risk of it going wrong is too high. To be sure, AI can positively transform some aspects of work, but it still requires thoughtful guidance and feedback from workers in order to produce useful outputs on complex or ambiguous work. Interestingly, they keep talking about the positives of using AI, but they're doing it anecdotally, which is very bizarre, because they're talking about the negatives using data, the survey, and then every once in a while the authors of this article were saying, oh, it's actually quite useful for some things. I'd like to see them back that up. I personally agree, but it's just a bit sloppy when it comes to the paper. What's more, indiscriminate mandates model the behavior of passing the buck. While employees should be invested with autonomy around AI, the organization should be working through its own careful policies and recommendations about best practices, top tools and norms, etc. If AI is everyone's job, it is also and foremost the job of organizational leaders to develop guidance for employees to help them use this new technology in ways that best align to the organization's strategies, values, and visions. God, these sentences. Yeah, and it just goes on like this. So I think have a look at this. It is called AI Generated Work Slop is Destroying Productivity. It's from Harvard Business Review. I think, though, that we need to have a look at the work that we're doing, because if AI can put out a facsimile, something that looks a lot like good work, but once you scratch the surface, it's not really, it does need to lead to the questions of, are those tasks valuable in the first place? Are putting those reports and those slide decks and those meeting notes together, is that useful? Or is it just busy work anyway? And AI is very good at replicating that. And we are starting to realize that a lot of the work that we do on the day-to-day is not genuinely valuable. Personally, I would not be able to do what I do without artificial intelligence. I know that it's extremely valuable, and I know a lot of people who use it on a daily basis who are using it very well. This is also why I go and give workshops to businesses to help them to determine the difference between good uses of artificial intelligence and bad uses, how to know the difference, and then giving them basic frameworks so they can start to learn how to use it better. So if you work in a certain industry, let's say you work in engineering or accounting, what you should be doing right now, or a really smart thing, is you carve out your space as somebody who goes into businesses and you help them to do that. So it could be workshops, it can be education, it can be embedded learning. You can create content to help these people online. You can sell books, etc., specific to your niche. So you're going in and you're saying, hey, lawyers, you're using AI, but we've got these problems with work slop. We've got problems with data privacy. Apparently 80% of law firms in the US, in-house counsel, are using AIs that are not allowed to. It's a big problem with shadow IT. You, as somebody within that industry, you can go in and help them sort out how they should be using AI properly to avoid issues like shadow IT and work slop. It's a really big opportunity right now. If you are interested in that, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, because I do talk about that quite a lot. And I also license out my workshop materials to people as well, so they can go and give workshops.